Power. When we hear the word, we think of power in the world around us. People in power, powerful systems, the power of nature. What we don't realize is power is us. It's personal, passionate, and full of possibilities. This is Nicole Devlin, host of From the Nth Power podcast, a business and life coaching podcast that helps stuck, intelligent, overthinking mid-career professionals find powerful and purposeful work, giving you the freedom to live your most successful life. You have the power to love what you do, which starts by creating professional and personal growth alignment that will propel your life forward. Not creating this correlation leads to being stuck and unhappy, no matter how much you achieve. From the Nth Power is a new business foundation around your power and values. With a focus on self-actualization, Nicole will help you enhance your career or grow your business, creating a vocation that gives you the confidence and leadership to become whoever you desire. Well, hi there, everybody. This is Nicole Devlin from the Nth Power podcast. My podcast is for people who are stuck, usually in overthinking, because you're very, very intelligent. You're a mid-career professional, possibly looking for a change in job, maybe a change to your vocation if you've really had enough of this one. Maybe you even have a bright business idea, but you're kind of sitting there going, oh, I wouldn't even know how to get started. Those are the people that I'm helping. And the thing that I'm trying to hone in on that I believe is unique is not just to talk about business strategy, vocation, even visioning or trying to figure out what you want to be when you grow up, but it's more so about aligning what you're doing for a living into purpose and self-actualization. In other words, there is not a big chasm between what you do for a living and what you make money doing and who you are and how you're trying to self-actualize. So the biggest gains for me and the people I coach are from understanding that work and personal life are inextricably tied together. And that if you want to have a profitable, successful business life and to be a good leader, that you must be self-actualizing or you must be doing some form of personal, spiritual, emotional development and self-actualization in order to reach the business goals you want or to have the type of vocation you want. So I invite all kinds of guests on my podcast that have beautiful ideas about how to make that leap, how to actually start to, talk about, think about, move towards a different life with a different vision, with a different type of focus, a life in business and outside of business that'll make you happier. And so today we're talking to Lisa Guillot, and Lisa is a powerful branding expert. She's super visionary. She's extremely enthusiastic and passionate. She wrote a book called Find Your Clear Vision, A New Mindset to Create a Vibrant Personal or Professional Brand with Purpose. And that's her area of expertise. And as you can see in her background, she's got a great image of her book, which is really colorful, like her personality. And so I'm going to turn it over to Lisa so that she can give you a little bit more information about how she can help you find your most powerful brand using visioning. Go ahead, Lisa.
Nicole, I have to share with you, I was at a yoga class a couple days ago, and the teacher had on a shirt and it said, alignment is the new hustle. And I was like, yes, that's what you shared. Yeah. Aligning your personal and professional life, aligning all of you, all these aspects. And then how does that show up in your work, in your leadership, in your next career? Yeah. Like that's my jam too. That's where I love to play. And I think that self-actualization, the kind of zone that I like to focus in is now that we've done the inner work and discovered what I call your inner platform, which really revolves around self-awareness, inner trust, and finding your clear vision. What is it that you actually want to create? Then you move that out into the world through professional branding, personal branding, thought leadership, your next role, your next gig, whatever it is. But I'm totally aligned with you there. You got to ramp up this part first so that you can shine bright out there to the rest of the world and make that bigger impact.
Yeah, I love the language you use. I love the way you talk. And I think where people really get stuck, which I hope that we can get into this a little bit, is this part, how do I move that into the world? The quote unquote separation of church and state. A lot of people in perhaps like, the sort of tail end of the baby boomer generation, Gen X, and even beginning of the millennial generation, which what you go to work, you get a job, you go to cool, you graduate from college, you figure out ideally in those 4 years, if you're not partying and drinking yourself to death, a little bit about what you like, what you want to study, what you want to do. And then in effect, you go get a job. And the job is something you do for X amount hours a day to give you a life. And so when people are entertaining this sort of mid-career place, when they are looking at who they are more, their own perception of self-awareness, it's they've been in this mode, in this habitual place where we're talking like branding and purpose and self-actualization, and they've dabbled a little bit. Like I had a client who was a dentist, and he would, I've done all that stuff, law of attraction, yoga, I go to therapy and stuff. I'm like, yeah. But dude, you're stuck professionally. So I want to get into that a little bit, like that how gap, right? Because that's the thing that keeps people stuck, is they go up here and it's like, I don't know, what do I have to do? Give me a plan, help me figure it out. And it's like, the funny thing about this work is that, yeah, some of it's up here, but a lot of it is down here. Yes. In the heart, in the intuition, in the soul. And for great visioning, I believe there has to be a lot of alignment. So to your point about alignment being the new hustle, do the hustle, do the hustle. Anyway, enough about that. That's my leftover, 70s thing. And I wasn't built in the 70s, but okay. So let's talk about vision. Like, what does it mean to have clear vision in your business? And, why does your business need like that internal and external vision, that professional and personal exploration? So it's really like, I guess it's a twofold question. Why does business itself need that type of vision? But then why does the person, the business owner, the vocational person, the human being, the working human being, why do they need the personal and professional exploration of self?
Right. Well, not to pick on your client, the dentist, but you imagine like if you're a baby boomer or even Gen X and you become a dentist, well, you fix people's teeth. And that's what you do. That's what you're paid to do. That's what you're going to do now at 25 all the way to 65. That's your job. And that could be great if you love dentistry, if you're a people person, if you're growing, if you're gaining new clients and it lights you up, it's your zone of genius. Cool. But I think right now we're bumping up against a lot of folks who are like, you know what? I don't love my job. I don't love what I do. I am thinking I have a different calling. I don't know what that is. Why doesn't this light me up? Do I need to stay in this career for my entire 4 decades of work? Mm-hmm. And so we're starting to recognize we have choices, but we bump up against that belief that we have been handed down that, oh no, we work and then we play later. So now I think we are awakening to the thought, oh, I have a choice.
Yes.
I can choose to explore my passion, my purpose, something else. And then the question arises, well, what is that? And that's where the clear vision framework really comes into play. So anyways, needless to say, at age 40, I was like, all right, second career is coming down the pipe. That's when I stepped into becoming a certified life and leadership coach. And I recognized there was this parallel between business branding, developing the brand's best characteristics, and then personal branding. Human beings, naturally, we want to show up and look good and present well and have poise and charisma and be considered smart and intelligent, likable human beings. And many of us are.
Yeah.
And I think also at this mid-career level, many of us want to advance. And how are we going to do that? How are we going to show up, particularly in rooms that we might not have been invited to in the past? Imposter syndrome sneaks in. So I think a lot of this internal work and then externally, how does it actually show up in the world? We want to be trustworthy. We want people to trust us and believe us. But in order to be someone who is trustworthy, we need to trust ourselves. And that's the
Absolutely.
inner work, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And in order to advance our career, we need to be able to have the self-awareness that this is my zone of expertise. This is
Mhm.
where I can excel. This is where I need help. So all that self-awareness is so 100% tied to
Absolutely.
your advancement at mid-career.
Oh, man. Yeah, you said it. And you know what? The piece of it that's really I'll hone in on is that change and disruption are good. Like a lot of people, it's hard to hear that. It's hard to understand that. So let's say you got laid off, whatever we just watched happen, whatever your experience was with the pandemic. I don't care who you were or where you were in the world. That was a major shift and major change overnight to your life. And there are a lot of big people still lagging around, like not having dealt with that too well, because
Yes.
it was incredibly, incredibly disruptive. But the thing is that like until or unless most human beings that I know, even the smartest, are pushed to the edge or until they have to change these kinds of things, their vision, this place of genius, they are going to sabotage it. I've even done it myself. You know what I mean? For fear of all those things that I'm saying I want, but what if I actually say I want? What if I go after it? And what if I fail? It's like, it's
I
like the
know.
melting thing, right? What if I fail? And the thing is I just talked to somebody the other day that I'm going to interview who wrote a book, The 5 Rules of Failure, talking about face down, drunk on the floor of his office, only to go home and then end up his wife has to leave him. His son won't talk to him. And it wasn't even just one failure. It was like repeated in his business, in his personal life, in his, emotional life, in his spiritual life, only to rise up from that and have a really great understanding of how that disruption and change is really the genesis of something good. And a lot of visions and brands, the best of them, come from this kind of spontaneous combustion type energy of change and disruption. And so, what do you think, though? I mean, that's at least my take. What do you think needs to happen besides that, or in addition to that, or other than that, to really for somebody to become really visionary, to unlock their best brand? What are the kind
Yeah.
of things usually precipitate that?
When we see a visionary person, we can backtrack and notice they also have a clear vision.
Yeah.
And so in order to find out, well, what is that for me? It doesn't have to be this big, huge aha, right? I'm hit over the head with this like beautiful concept that just falls from, the sky and hits me. And now I know what my purpose is. The C in the clear vision framework, CLEAR is an acronym. C stands for the clear concept. What is the clear concept that I am here to do? And why is it important? And just try things on. Give yourself a month to
Mm,
try on this pair of jeans. Give
mhm,
yourself a month to try out expressing yourself on Instagram or LinkedIn. Give yourself 90 days to build that product line and
mhm,
1 month to launch,
mhm,
right? I think in our personal lives, we don't dedicate time to projects the same
mhm.
way we do in our professional lives. In professional lives, we won't miss a deadline because if you do, you're fired. But in our personal life, we get super wobbly with, well, what if I fail?
Oh, yeah.
Well, right. Well, what if so and so finds out? What's my family going to think?
Mhm,
And in the same vein, you could also ask yourself, what if I succeed? Like,
mhm.
what if I just go full out, full on, and this actually works?
Yeah.
Sometimes it does too,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. And some of that is the expectation that you're creating. Some of it is like, a lot of it is mindset stuff. So you talked a little bit, you started about the clear vision framework. So go through the other letters of the acronym. You said it was C.L.E.A.R. So
Yep.
tell us what those are and then talk about that in relationship to somebody maybe who's stuck in some kind of career or business transition.
Yes. So the C is for clear concept. So your clear concept is actually a reflection of I am here to help other people find their clear vision. And this is important because people now have so many choices, they can truly make an impact in the world.
Yeah.
If they so choose, right? So always adding and this is important because is integral to the clear vision framework, because if you don't know why it's important, you're going to get super wobbly and you're going to be able to just be like, oh no, it's not that important. There's so many other deadlines, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to start to hold you accountable and stay committed. L, legit and long lasting.
Mm-hmm.
Is the first concert I went to was MC Hammer. Too
Ah,
legit to quit,
can't touch
right?
it. Uh-huh.
So is this concept too legit to quit? Am I bought in? Is this long lasting? Is this something that I am going to commit to for 6 months?
Yeah.
Yes or no? And if you say no, then don't do it, right? Do not waste your time. All right. E, expanded energy. You're going to love this part, Nicole, because this is like your jam. So in order to become a visionary person, particularly when you are stuck, in order to step into a new role, to start putting your resume out there, put yourself out there, whatever it may be, we need to generate 3 times the amount of internal energy to put out into the world so we can receive it back.
Oh, very good.
So
I
you
do
think,
like that.
okay, right? I'm gonna just hit and send my resume to 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just gonna go into the like Ethernet. We have to actually create a plan for managing your own personal energy, which is going to be an up level
Mm-hmm.
in your sleep, in your routine, in your mindset, in the people that you're hanging out with, in the music you're listening to, in your hydration. Like all of these things will
Yeah.
be up leveling as you're up leveling who you are. A, aspirational results.
Mm-hmm.
So many people want achievable results, like in the SMART.
Yeah.
There's like, okay, the A in that one is achievable. If you already knew how to achieve this vision, you would have already done it. So that's the difference. If you
Mm-hmm.
already know how to do it, well, then just go do it. Oh, but then people are going to hem and haw. That's mindset.
Yeah.
So we're actually looking for aspirational results. We're going to be going farther and farther and harder and better and higher and faster than we ever thought possible. And I like to dream big like that because it increases our energy and it's going to help us in expansion so we can continue about why this is important. And then we have R, and R is rooted in celebration. Core values for me are fun, celebration, and I also like alone time a lot. But if it's not fun, like why are we creating this big vision in the first place? Like I'm a big believer in let's do it because it lights us up. It makes a difference in the world. It's helping someone, it's serving someone. And then we get to celebrate big wins or small wins.
Yeah, I love the delineation between achievable or aspirational. But I really, like you said, oh, I'm going to love this one, the expanded energy. And here's why. A lot of times people will be like, wow, you have so much discipline. You get so much done. Like, how do you do it? And I'm like, okay, so to be fair, for whatever reason, I still have yet to figure out, because my whole family is not necessarily like this, but there's something I was born with where I'm just kind of, like I'm a high energy person. I've always talked a lot. I've always thought a lot. But in addition, I did have a sluggish period in my early 20s where I didn't know how to harness that. And I had to figure out like what it meant to not like control, but manage time, what it meant to have a healthy practice, not something that was like discipline that was going to piss me off and make me not want to do it. And these are just differences in nuance about how to change and, like you said, expand your energy. And I'm amazed that you said that part of the expanding energy is needing like 3 times the amount that you needed before, and that you do that through additional sleep and additional, like, really self self-care and self-actualization practices. And that's almost the opposite of what people do. They start fretting and worrying and getting stressed and anxious and not sleeping and, drinking and, eating bad food and everything that actually detracts away from their energy. And then they sit back and go, oh, I don't understand why I have no energy to do this. And I'm like,
Right.
because you're running on like gas fumes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
You can't
Cheetos. Yeah.
do that really to yourself. But yet that's also a byproduct of being stuck, this running on empty feeling and just fueling fear and anxiety. I talked to someone who I'm going to have a podcast interview with, who's like a financial counselor and consultant. And, I talked to all these different people and we find these common threads of like how people are just like leaking power out from like behind their right knee and all these like awful habits that detract from their energy, these attitudes that are way less than, forget about aspirational, but even less than achievable. And there's so much of this that's just, it's like they set themselves up knowingly or unknowingly a long time ago to think this way, but the job that they were in enabled them to play it safe and continue to think that way. And now they're being pushed out of their comfort zone and they're scared shitless. And I would be too. When I was laid off, I was scared shitless. But at the same time, I had at that point in time, like done enough personal and even emotional and spiritual development work to understand that like, okay, this is not what I planned. I don't necessarily like it, but I'm gonna figure it out, or I'm gonna be led to where I need to go. So what do you think that, given your framework, which I love, by the way, if somebody's really stuck like that in their career or business, like what part of that framework do you think is the most important, or what is the first thing that you think that they could or should do to move ahead, whether it's a mindset change, a specific action, or what is the thing that really gets the engine moving, gets this car started?
Gets the car started. The expanded energy, as the stuck is a mindset.
Yeah.
And because we know that your fingers work and you can get on a phone and you can call someone and say, hey, you got a job for me?
Yeah.
You could go to Chipotle and get a job, right?
Mhm.
So there's possibilities everywhere,
Mhm.
but the stuck is in your mind.
Woo!
And the stuck is actually giving you a benefit
Yep.
of staying stuck, of not putting yourself out there, of
Mhm.
whatever it may be. And so expanding your energy, and it might be an interesting place to play just to expand your energy to try things on that it's going to help release
Mhm.
habits that aren't serving you so you can get your power back. Because I
Mhm.
like what you said about like you're leaking power everywhere.
Mhm.
I'm a big believer that people who have a clear vision make powerful choices. The difference between being stuck or being a visionary is the time in between your thought and
Mhm.
taking action.
Yeah, very
And
much so.
visionary people decrease that time. They have a thought, they take action. And
Yeah.
guess what happens? Then you just said it, Nicole, you used to do this. People will be like, well, how do you do it? Right? How do you get all this done? Like, why are you so driven? Probably, my guess is because you have a thought and then you take action on it. And if that's the only thing that they can practice for a while, I'll even tell myself like exercise for me is like a supplement. I have to take it. It's not even a choice. I just do it
Mhm.
because my highest self, my vibrant self, has made the choice for me in advance.
Yeah.
That choice is, as that visionary woman who is making shit happen and who's coming out, trusting myself, trusting the choices that I made when I was in that real high vibe, I'm going to do that. So
Yeah.
you got to choose from that place.
Yeah.
So use your energy to start to choose from a different place.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, as far as like, this is the thing to understand about the personal or growth process or spiritual growth or whatever you want to use. As a young person, I was really impulsive, and I didn't have a lot of space between like a choice and action. And it was not well thought through because I wasn't actually really connected to who I was. Forget even about a vision. And so it took time for me to do the work and really get in touch with my highest self, my understanding of my core values, who I am, what I really want to be. And so, yes, and then making mistakes, like, or not going in the right direction, or trying on the wrong pair of pants. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to fail. You're allowed to look stupid. You're allowed to be wrong, because we've all done it. There's nothing so disastrous that you're going to do that any of us haven't done before, and have been, in my impression and experience, better off as a result. Because now, see, the power of choice creates, like, when you exercise that power, it's like a muscle. It creates more power, and you get more fine-tuned as you make choices, right? So as I get more fine-tuned, yes, now the amount of time between choice and action has decreased, and I'm more solid in either the decision itself, or the action itself, or the trust in myself, that even if I make a choice, or like a decision, or take an action that doesn't work out, it's going to be all right. Like, I'm not like,
Right.
and I don't go into regret. That's the worst thing that could ever happen. How could this happen? What an idiot I am. I'm like, no, because I chose path A. I didn't choose path B. So I don't know that path B would have been better. So what's to regret? And then, like, my power of choice muscle just gets stronger and stronger and stronger, because my faith in myself and, universal consciousness, the ultimate guy, divine creativity is always at work. So let's talk for a second, because we talked about this before, about this, idea of the, like, masculine and feminine in leadership, and the whole idea of visionary work and the balance. I do want to get into that, because I was on a podcast yesterday, and it was more about, like, women and success. And, he was asking me a bunch of questions about, women at work, and, this whole idea of business. And like we talked about, what businesses are missing is not more women, it's more of the feminine energy, or the feminine consciousness. As you're doing your visionary work, like, what are you seeing around, like, masculine and feminine energies in people's vocations and in their businesses? And what do you think businesses need? And then how, like, as far as visionary work, to correct that balance or imbalance?
Imbalance. Yeah. I think currently the structure of the American workplace, particularly in corporate work and also business owners, is built around masculine energy. And that is logic, competition, aggression, get it done right, production, right? And get it done within 24-hour cycle. I was lacking feminine energy. I didn't feel it was actually safe to show up in a feminine way, because if I show up in too much of a feminine way at work, for example, I get noticed, but not in a she's smart way. You get noticed in a sexual way or a soft way. And so it just gets super screwy. And I know women throughout the world have often felt this imbalance, right? Don't be too sexy. Don't be too, I mean, that whole Barbie monologue that America Ferrera gave about women, don't be too this, don't be too that, this, that, and the other thing. Okay. That is the epitome of what masculine and feminine energy does when it's disheveled. So now, instead, for business, for humans, for leaders, for visionary people, or just for you out there in the world, how to balance it, the way I like to think of masculine energy is that it's like a container, like a glass, a wine glass. So it is the structure. And feminine energy is the water that we're going to pour into it. It is the flow. We don't know where it's going to go. You could add some LaCroix in there. You could add some champagne, some orange juice, make it a mimosa. It can taste all these different ways. There's just like so much creativity and flow, and also compassion and nourishment and understanding and empathy and slowing down. So all those feelings that people call soft skills, quote unquote, that's actually just feminine energy. That water pours into the container. It pours into the wine glass. If we do not have the container or the structure or the masculine energy, then that flow, compassion, empathy is just going to like flow out all over the place and all over the table and spill everywhere, and you can't contain it. Yeah. So we need both. and it's a learning process. So we need some rebalancing and structure. And just like doing the inner work, this is something that's going to have to be done internally for everyone. So
Mhm.
collectively, we can start to move that blend
Mhm.
into the workplace. And it's going to take work. It's going to change and structure.
And time. And the other thing, I always say that change happens is kind of like the pendulum swings, right? So you get this almost total ignorance of the energy, and then some brilliant person somewhere, I don't know where it actually starts, but it ends up in the media really loud. It's all about the other side. So we've seen this
Yeah.
politically, we've seen this in the social justice conversation, we've seen it in the conversations around like sexism, female leadership, misogyny. It's all like, oh, we've been over here and it's really not fair. So we want to jump over here. But when you move that fast, you're going to take some people out and take some
Yeah.
people down. And I don't think that's the point. Because the point, if I'm truly in touch with my feminine energy, is always to be thinking about true inclusivity. I don't mean inclusivity in the way the world speaks the word right now necessarily. Because the way the world speaks the world is like, let's fill in the numbers. Okay, so in this
Right.
particular sphere, we have this many of this people or this gender or this type of well, we need more of this and more. It's not that definitive, and it's certainly not something that we measure, because the truth is around things like sexism or exclusivity or any other kinds of isms. The fact of the matter is the biggest problem is in people's attitudes. And so I
Mm.
think on some level, the pendulum is like over here. And it's almost like we wake up one day thinking we were more here. And then all of a sudden everybody's like, no, we're here. And it's like, let's go here. So now, men are getting a bad rap. It's all about like, let's look at how wonderful dads are and just shifting everything. And I
Right.
don't necessarily think that's all bad. Right? Because think about like either the analogy of trying on clothes, or if you have a child who's crying, you alternately might comfort and soothe the child, and you alternately might get angry because you're trying on different ways, or you're not even necessarily trying. You're just intuitively responding to the energy of your own compassion, frustration, and so there's really all this room in the middle that we've skipped as we're trying to find solutions, because it's like,
Right.
this is bad, we need to go over there. So you can't even like, I can't even, sometimes I talk to people that are like highly intelligent, and you mention like anything that they don't want to talk about or hear about, let's say politically, and it's almost like immediate disruption. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
We can actually talk about this group, this party, this person in a constructive way, and like parse out what's happening that, yeah, you feel disrupted by, but also how that could be like the change we want to see. Is it possible that, as negative as it seems, as much of an idiot, whoever your least favorite candidate is, that it's possible that what's happening right now are the seeds for what you actually want to happen in the future, right?
Yes.
So, and we're not necessarily open like that. And I, for one, as a woman, think that it's of ultimate necessity to remain open, because that's what flow is about. Flow is
Mhm.
about that I get my mind out of this debating society. I get my mind out of this good versus bad, masculine versus feminine, black versus white, and ask myself who I want to be and how I want to show up, because I do have a vision and I do have a clear framework. And my core values are things like love and service and having a purpose in my life, right? So if I focus on that, I can watch the world move in whatever direction and I can go with it. And that for me is the feminine energy that I want to both bring and be. So
Yes.
anyway, final comments. And also, please, if you would let anybody who's listening or watching know about your book, about how they can get in touch with you, email, phone, website, your social media channels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, Lisa.
Sure. Nicole, you and I could probably talk for another 2 hours because I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that. Did you hear about him? Um, but yes, absolutely. Everyone can find me. My favorite place to hang out is on Instagram at bebrightlisa.com. That's bebrightlisa.com. Or the handle's the same on Instagram. And you've got the website, and then we've also got the Find Your Clear Vision book, which you can find on Amazon. There's so many free resources on my website too, as it relates to the book. And I've got a podcast too called Find Your Clear Vision.
Great. Okay. So it's been great having you, and it's been great talking about this. And for those of you who are listening, in case it wasn't clear at the beginning, I'll repeat myself. I want to help you if you're stuck in your career, right? Lisa can help you if you need vision work, if you need any of those C.L.E.A.R things that she spoke about, which I'm sure everybody who's stuck in any kind of career or business transition could use. But also, if you're looking for one-on-one coaching or some other type of exploration of your self-actualization goals in order to transition into the type of work that you not only pays you well, but that you'll enjoy and is purposeful, then you can go to my website, NicoleDevlin.com. You can take my quiz. It's at a link right at the top, and find out kind of where you are and what you might need help with. I have this podcast. I also have an online training business. If you already have a small business and you want to train someone to assist you in growing or operationalizing that business, and that's all on my website at NicoleDevlin.com. My podcast is From the Nth Power, which is also my handle on Instagram. Okay, well, thank you for joining us today. And thanks, Lisa, again. And I hope you all have a great day.